Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, July 13th, 2023, and ask the Commission Secretary for information on today's agenda.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, June 29th, 2023, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the minutes.
Move we approve the minutes of Thursday, June 29th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 7.
Move we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 through 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move we approve the notices of proceeding associated with agenda items 5 through 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 8, which is docket 2800-WI-100. This is the investigation of Kaukauna Utilities for unauthorized construction. During the review of Kaukana's pending rate case, it was discovered that the construction of a new water department storage building done in 2020 was completed without commission approval. This new storage building was necessary due to the fact that the old building was beyond repair and it actually posed some pretty serious safety concerns. Back when the decision was made to build the new facility, the utility's initial estimate for construction of the project was approximately $400,000. That $400,000 was below the statutory threshold for commission review at the time. Subsequent to that, when the project was completed, the utility capitalized $474,935 in costs for the construction of that building. That final cost exceeded the statutory cost threshold of $432,000. It's clear, at least it was clear to me, reading the information on the record, that this was an oversight by the former project managers. Those project managers are no longer at the utility. And so we have two decisions in front of us. First, we have to determine whether or not the utility violated statutory and regulatory requirements by constructing that facility without prior commission approval. And if so, then our next decision is to determine what action, if any, to take to address that failure. In addition, we must also determine whether to specifically address and decide whether the utility is permitted to seek recovery of those costs in their pending rate case as appropriate. We've seen this type of situation before. It always has a little bit of a twist to it, a little bit of a nuance. For me, this one was very straightforward. It was clear to me that this was an oversight. I know that there's not, this isn't criminal law where we look at mens rea, but clearly this was an oversight. This was not intentional. That being said, I think it's important and consistent with actions that we've taken in the past to send a letter of reprimand. That's, in my mind, that just goes to good record keeping for the utility, so that it's in the file, so that when future generations of employees join the utility company, they understand that this requirement is in place. And so I wouldn't do anything beyond that. I would be at Alt 1 where, yes, clearly, according to state statute, they violated our regs. And then I would send a letter of reprimand, but I would stop it at that. And then in terms of rate recovery, I would allow the utility to seek recovery of those costs. I will note that Commission staff conducted an analysis of the construction, and given the poor condition of that previous building and the fact that it had reached the end of its useful life, Commission staff indicates that the construction of that building would likely have satisfied state statute, and because of that, I would allow the utility to seek recovery in their pending rate case, which is docket 2800-WR-110. So in terms of compliance, I'm at Alt 1 and Alt 3, and in terms of rate recovery, I'm at Alt 1. Commissioner Huebner?
Thank you. I found my analysis was the same as yours, in that I did find that it was an oversight and that they started below the threshold and ended up above it. So I was at alternative 1 and alternative 3, as you were. I was also at alternative 4, and basically I just saw that as an opportunity for them to figure out internally how they're gonna kind of check and balance. Is there an attorney? Is there an accountant? Who needs to kind of be involved in that decision-making to try to avoid a reoccurrence? So I would have added alternative 4, and then on rate recovery, I am at alternative 1, as
Okay.
you were.
All right. Commissioner Strand.
I am in the exact same spot as Commissioner Hebner. I also thought alternative 4 would help our staff just send a clear message and then have a plan to kind of hold them to going forward to ensure that these kinds of things don't happen again. And also during our discussions, it sounded like if you did 3, we should kind of do 4 as well. So again, I'm at 1, 3, 4, and then 1 for recovery.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'll stay where I am. I think 4 is overkill.
Okay.
So I'm going to stay where I am.
All right, I will move in docket 2800 WI 100 that we take action consistent with our discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to our final agenda item, which is agenda item 9, docket 4220-FR-2022. And Commissioner Strand is going to lead the discussion of this case.
Thank you, Chair Bach. Before the commission is the application of Northern States Power Company of Wisconsin, NSPW, for a reconciliation of actual fuel costs to its authorized 2022 fuel cost plan. In its December 20th, 2021 final decision in docket 4220-UR-125, the commission determined the monitored fuel costs of NSPW's native energy requirements for 2022. Additionally, the commission set an annual fuel variance bandwidth of plus or minus 2% for the purpose of determining the reconciliation amount. As reported in its fuel reconciliation application, NSPW's actual 2022 Wisconsin retail fuel costs were roughly $2.45 per kilowatt hour, which represents a 3.52% variance from the authorized fuel cost for the 2022 plan year. And that resulted in an undercollection of fuel costs of $6.5 million for NSPW's Wisconsin retail electric operations. NSPW maintained that the variance from 2022 authorized fuel costs is due to several factors. For instance, the average price of natural gas was 48% higher than authorized in 2022. And this variance is most notable in the months of June, August, and September, as the price of natural gas was, on average, 122% higher than authorized. NSPW also reported that 2022 saw continued variances in the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, Inc., or MISO's settlement costs relating to congestion as compared to authorized costs. With that being said, this cost variance is partially offset by higher capacity and energy sales revenues, which exceeded NSPW's expectations for the 2022 plan year. NSPW's baseload generation and peaker plants enabled it to both offer demand and energy into the MISO market at higher prices, thereby bringing in additional revenues for the utility. Stronger than forecasted sales were another factor in offsetting the under-recovered position. Energy requirements for the NSPW system were 8% higher than authorized. And this increase was primarily driven by weather conditions and stronger overall usage by NSPW's customers. All told, NSPW computed a deferred account balance debit of $2.7 million outside the fuel variance bandwidth of plus 2%. Under the Commission's fuel reconciliation rule, which is PSC 116.07 sub 4A, quote, if after hearing the Commission finds the utility demonstrated that the deferred account balance debit is accurate and includes only prudently expended fuel costs, the Commission shall authorize the utility to recover in rates the amount of the deferred account balance debit less any utility excess revenues, unquote. This provision creates an exception to fuel recovery when a utility has earned excess revenues. Because NSPW had excess revenues in 2022, NSPW did not seek to collect the deferred balance exceeding the 2% fuel variance bandwidth. In its audit of NSPW's fuel reconciliation filing, Commission staff found no material errors, no imprudently incurred costs, and no misstatements of the applicant's 2022 monitored fuel costs. Moreover, the staff confirmed that since NSPW had excess earnings, it's not eligible for a surcharge, even though the monitored fuel costs exceeded the 2% window. In light of those findings, for this item, I am at alternative 1, which is to accept the applicant's 2022 fuel reconciliation application as filed and do not authorize a surcharge or refund. I do, however, have a few additional comments regarding NSPW's risk management activities that were referenced in the commission staff memo for this issue. As part of the audit, commission staff reviewed the applicant's commission-authorized electric risk management plan activities for 2022. The purpose of an ERMP is to reduce volatility of prices used to produce or procure electricity, usually resulting in a modest increase of fuel costs. As stated in the commission staff memo, risk management is kind of like an insurance policy against significantly higher costs. NSPW's approved ERMP outlined its plan to purchase fixed-price physical contracts through 2022 with the goal of reducing price volatility for its customers. In 2022, NSPW purchased hedges for 4 out of 12 months, and then they halted these purchases in April. In response to a commission staff data request asking for a description of the strategies used to hedge electric fuel costs for the plan year, NSPW noted its decision to halt its hedging activities was due to high market volatility. NSPW determined not to lock in higher prices, but rather search for opportunities to acquire lower prices for its customers. Ultimately, this approach did not produce its intended results, as commission staff's analysis concluded that NSPW's hedging activities did not decrease volatility. The commission staff memo stated that NSPW's risk management activities were not in violation of its authorized plan, but did represent a deviation from the strategy it had used in previous years. Although NSPW's decision to halt its hedging activities may not have violated its risk management plan protocols, I do think it would have been reasonable for NSPW to have reported this significant change in strategy outside of its standard quarterly reporting requirements. I thought the memo did a really good job of raising and describing this issue for the commission for us to consider and discuss. I personally agree that additional reporting and greater transparency in future risk management proceedings should be explored to strengthen risk management oversight in situations like these. Additionally, I appreciated CUB's comments, especially its recommendation that in review of future risk management plans, there's more consideration given to clearly articulating the objectives and decision-making policies regarding guiding risk management and the hedging strategies. So this concludes my introduction and discussion of the item, but I'm very curious to hear what Chair Bach and Commissioner Huebner have to say about this.
I don't think I can add anything. That was very well done, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the same place. We're in a no surcharge situation because of excess earnings, so I'm at alternative one. I also appreciated this discussion, and I'll just, say what I usually say, and that is, while it might be tempting to engage in Monday morning quarterbacking, that's not our job. And the prudency standard in Wisconsin is well settled. And so I am certainly up for additional discussions in their next ERMP filing, whether that is by way of, additional data requests or additional discussions with staff. But I want to be clear that we have to be cautious that we are not engaging in sort of after the fact picking apart of decisions because the law in Wisconsin is clear that the management is entitled to make decisions based on the information they have at the time those decisions are being made. And again, while it can be tempting, very tempting, to look back and to try to substitute our judgment, that is not what the statute allows us to do. So I'm at alternative one. And I would note that the company also indicated its support for discussing these issues in an ERMP docket, and I think that that's the appropriate place. Commissioner Huebner?
Yep. I'm also at alternative one. It was I thought you did a great job describing it, Commissioner Strand, and great to hear your comments, Chair Bach. I thought overall the company did a good job. We're going to see other situations that aren't a zero here this season. And clearly, NSPW was able to keep costs down and keep this to no additional increase for its customers, and they should be applauded for that. I think the risk management reporting and continuing to understand it is an important next step from this cycle. I don't know how long we've done the current version of risk management, but obviously 2022 was a challenging year. And so it gives us that opportunity to shed light on things that maybe we didn't look at as closely in the past, and maybe this is one of those where we can get more information about what the company is seeing. I thought their data request response, I completely agree with you. We can't Monday morning quarterback. I thought their response was a little lacking, though, to just say, well, we didn't want to buy high as we're looking for lower opportunities. It would have been great to sort of follow up on that. Here's the prices we saw on these days, weeks, or months, and here's why we kept with that decision, because they never went back to buying those hedges. And so we just don't know. And we can't sit here today and say it was right or wrong based on the evidence. But I think helping us see what they're seeing in those in this process would be really helpful. Last thing was I appreciated Cub's comments as well. I did want to caution them where they put something in their comments to the effect of, the market price is kind of the all-knowing price. It's got all the information in it, and I agree with the sentiment and the theory behind that. The problem is that there are also a lot of speculators in those commodity markets, and specifically in that natural gas market. And so NSP didn't respond to that. We didn't have reply comments, but I think that that's something for Cub and everybody to be aware of, and maybe staff and continue to looking at, because as the prices rose last year, the speculators started thinking this was a quick way to make a buck. And those prices really spiked, and then what we saw this year is they dropped precipitously as the speculators all got out of the market, and obviously there was other things involved too, but it just, how do we know what that judgment is? How do we know what that decision-making is? Clearly NSPW saw these irregularities and kind of went to just market pricing. I'm at alternative one to accept that for this case. Hopefully we can get more information about kind of how that decision-making is made as we go forward, and hopefully Cub will be involved in future cases. So that's what I had to say. Thanks.
All right.
Anything else, Commissioner? Okay. In docket 4220 FR 2022, I move to accept the applicant's filed 2022 fuel reconciliation application as filed and do not authorize a surcharge or refund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that concludes our official business for today. Our next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 27th. Is that right?
20th.
20th. I have an old version. Thursday, July 20th at 10:30 a.m.
Move we stand adjourned until July 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
He had updated, he corrected that.
I thought it was the